For the code for 1A, I've initialized a block start variable to -1 to symbolize we don't know where the free block of time starts yet. I've also initialized a time found variable to 0 to represent the current amount of time that is found to be free. You're looping through from 0 to 59 because that's how the minutes are numbered within a period. If a minute within the current period is free, you ask another question. If you haven't set the start of the free block yet, set it to I and increment the amount of available time found. If you have set the start of the free block yet, just increment the amount of available time found. If you've found the consecutive amount of free time you need, return the block start variable, as that's the start of the free period of time. Finally, within the loop, if the minute isn't free, reset the start of the free block to -1 and the amount of free time found back to 0. Outside of the loop, if you haven't found enough consecutive time for the requested appointment time, return a -1. For the code for 1B, you're looping through all of the periods, inclusive of both ends. You use find free block to find a free block. If the block is free, meaning free block didn't return a -1, you reserve the block and return true. Otherwise, if the loop is done and you found no free block, just return false.
For the code for 2, you have your class, the two members, message and width, and a constructor where you initialize your members. For the number lines method, you're getting the length of the message, dividing it by the width of the sign, then finally, you're adding 1 to that result if the length of the message is not evenly divided by the width. For the getLines method, you're immediately returning null if the length of the message is 0. You initialize the string variable, then you iterate over the entire length of the message, adding the character at the current position to your string variable. If the width evenly divides the current position, you add a new line, so you add a semicolon to the string variable. Then, you return your string variable.
For question 3A, you're implementing a clean data method that removes temperatures from the array list that are outside the desired range. The most important part of this is iterating through the array list backwards. If you iterate through the array list forwards, when you remove an element and the array list gets rearranged, you'll end up skipping an element. Then, you're doing a simple check to see if the current value is outside the desired range. If it is, you remove it from the array list. For question 3B, you're implementing a longest heat wave method that returns the length of the longest heat wave from the temperature. You iterate through each temperature. If it's hot enough to be heat wave worthy, you increment the current streak variable by 1 to indicate one more day of a heat wave. In addition, if the current streak is bigger than the longest streak after you've added 1, assign the current streak to the longest streak. If a temperature isn't heat wave worthy, you simply set the heat wave variable to 0. After the loop, return the longest heat wave streak. For question 4A, you're implementing a move candy to first row method. You're trying to find a piece of candy after the first row in a specified column to move to the first column. If there's already a candy in the first row, you return true. Otherwise, you iterate through the rows from top to bottom. If a slot isn't empty, do the proper moving to the first row, empty out the existing slot, and return true. If you've gone through the whole row and found no candy, you just return false. For question 4B, you're implementing a remove next by flavor method. You iterate over the whole box from bottom to top on left to right. For each slot, you check to make sure it's not empty. Then, if it's not, you see if the candy in the current slot has a flavor equal to the desired flavor. If it does, you store the candy in a variable, empty out the slot, and return the candy variable. Otherwise, if you've gone through the whole box and haven't found the desired piece of candy, you return null. I normally make content teaching you how to code in Python, Java, and JavaScript, so if that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe.